All right, y'all, we are going to prepare for your test tomorrow. It is on Unit 1, Solving Equations, and it's only the first half of Unit 1. We're kind of breaking it down, so it's not so much at once. So let's run through some basic things. Make sure you remember. I'm kind of going to run through it a little quickly. If you need to stop or back it up, do that. All right, so solve one-step equations. If I want to get x by itself, I got to get rid of the minus 4. What is the inverse operation or the opposite of minus 4? It's plus 4, so what you do to one side, you do to the other. Add it. Negative 4 plus 4 is 0. I don't need to put the 0. Bring down your x. And that is 16. To get x by itself here, you want to get rid of plus 3. The inverse of plus 3 is minus 3. What you do to one side, you do to the other to keep your equation balanced. 3 minus 3 is 0. I don't need to write the 0. Bring down your x. Negative 5 minus 3 is negative 8. If you doubt yourself on your integer rules, check yourself on the calculator with that negative 5 minus 3. Those two are pretty easy, so let's get to some harder ones. Multiplication and division, this should be pretty easy also. If I want to get x by itself, when they're next to each other, that's multiplication. The opposite is division. Anything divided by itself is 1. 1 times x is x. And 12 divided by negative 4 is negative 3. When it's up and down like this in a fraction, that is division. So to get x by itself, the opposite of division is multiplication. So you got to get rid of the 5 in the denominator, so multiply both sides by 5. These 5 simplify to 1. 1 times x is x. And 10 times 5 is 50. Those are probably way too easy. Let's jump to the harder ones. Y'all can try these. Oh, this one in particular. Remember, you cannot touch that numerator till you get rid of the denominator. In the denominator, when it's in the denominator, it's division. The opposite of division is multiplication. So multiply both sides. Multiply both sides by 6. That helps me cross simplify these to 1. 1 times that numerator is just that numerator. Negative 12 times 6 is negative 72. And then it's a basic one step. To get x by itself, I got to get rid of minus 5. To get rid of minus 5, I plus 5. And negative 72 plus 5 is what, negative 67? Check yourself if you need to. All right, let's get into the much harder ones that I foresee there being an issue. Multi-step equations and combining like terms. Remember, the first thing when you have a multi-step, when you have a lot of stuff going on, distribute if you can to get rid of parentheses. Combine like terms on the left if you can. Combine like terms on the right if you can. If you have variables on both sides, bring them to one side. Bring smaller to larger and then solve. I have no parentheses here, so I can't distribute. I do have like terms on the left. X's go together, so 6 plus 4 is 10. I have nothing to go with the plus 5, so leave it. Remember, you can't touch anything with x until you get rid of everything else. To get rid of plus 5, you minus 5. So 10x equals negative 20. And to finish solving for your x, you got to get rid of the 10. So you divide both sides by 10. Anything divided by 10 is 1, or anything divided by itself, sorry, is 1. 1 times x is x. What does that give me? Negative 2. So x is negative 2. I'm going to jump around. I'm not doing every single problem. Let's go ahead and do this second one. So I do have parentheses in this situation. You only distribute the number in front of parentheses. That number is a 5. So leave that 6. Actually, more importantly, that number is a positive 5. So leave the 6. Positive 5 times 2x is positive 10x. Positive 5 times negative 4 is negative 20. I've got some like terms on this left side. So keep that 10x. 6 minus 20 is negative 14. And again, I can't touch my 10x until I get rid of my minus 14. Opposite of minus 14, or the inverse, is plus 14. So 10x equals, is it negative 110? Divide by 10. So x is what? Negative 11? Let's do some with variables on both sides so we have to worry about that aspect. I'm going to try this b. So I got to get rid of parentheses. So 5 times x is 5x. 5 times positive 4 is positive 20. So I got rid of parentheses. Do I have like terms on the left side? No, so leave it. Do I have like terms on the right side? No, so leave it. Now get your variables to one side because I have a variable on this side and a variable on this side. Usually I bring smaller to larger, so which one's smaller? The positive 5x is smaller, so subtract it. Opposite of positive is negative. That's how you bring it to the other side. Anything minus itself is 0. I don't need to put the 0. The whole thing goes away, even the x. So I'm just left with positive 20. 6x minus 5x is 1x. And now I want to solve for x. I can't touch x, so I get rid of minus 5. The opposite of minus 5, or the inverse, is plus 5. So 25 equals x. X is the same thing as 1x, so I don't necessarily have to put the 1 there. Let's try some that give you special solutions. I'm going to come back to this in a second. Let's try ones that give you special solutions. Here we go. All right, we're going to look at this second one. Remember, we've seen ones that have one solution. That is when you get x to equal a certain number. We've also seen ones that have no solution, which is this line with a slash through it, or infinitely many solutions, or all real numbers, whatever way you want to say it, and is that symbol. Okay, so let's look at B. Do I have any parentheses to get rid of? I don't. Do I have any like terms on the left? I don't, so leave it. Do I have any like terms on the right? I do. I have a positive 9x minus 3x, so leave the 15. 9 minus 3 is positive 6. Now, I do have variables on both sides. I have this one and this one. Rule of thumb is to bring the smaller to the larger. Which one's smaller? Well, they're the same, but if I decide to bring one to the other, they're both positive, so to bring it to the other side, I'd minus it. Anything minus itself is 0. The whole thing disappears. So on the left, I'm left with 10. Anything minus itself is 0. That whole thing disappears. So on the right, I'm left with 15. Remember, when your variables disappear, you're either going to get no solution or infinitely many / all real numbers. But check, is this true or is this false? Does 10 equal 15? It doesn't. Put a slash through it, and when it doesn't equal each other, you remember that's called no solution. There is no number or no solution, no answer that I could plug in for x that would satisfy this equation. Let's try, I'm going to change this question a little bit. We're going to try D, but I'm going to change it a little. I'm going to put a plus 5 there. Okay, so I do have parentheses. I do need to get rid of them by distributing. That's the first thing. So 2 times x is 2x. 2 times positive 5 is positive 10. I don't have parentheses on the other side, so leave it. Do I have any like terms on the left? I don't. Do I have any like terms on the right? I don't, so move on. You do have variables on both sides. There's one on each side. Rule is bring smaller to larger, but they're the same. They're both positive 2. If I just subtract this one and bring it to the other side, what's going to happen? Anything minus itself is 0. The whole thing, even the x's, go away. 0. Bring down my 10. Anything minus itself is 0. Some people want to put x, but remember, 0, and then if you have the x next to it, 0 times x is 0. That's why it cancels. We don't even put it. So now I'm left with a 10. Remember, when your variables disappear, it's either going to be no solution or infinitely many, based on what you see at the end. So at the end, look at this. Is this a true statement or a false? It is true, and when it's true, it's infinitely many. You can either write it or put the symbol. Infinitely many solutions, which is also called all real numbers. That means every single number I would plug in for x would work, would satisfy this equation. Don't have to worry about that. We'll get to that later on. I'm going to go back to that properties one. I just want to justify all the steps I did here for you. Okay? So here's my given equation. How did I go from this to this? What did I do? Very good. I got rid of parentheses, and that is called the distributive property when you get rid of parentheses. And when you distribute, you are multiplying. So I use the distributive property to go from there. Now I'm going from this line to this line. What did I do there? How's it different? Looks to me like I had a 5x, but somehow now I have a 2x. How'd they do that? Very good. They subtracted. They've had x's on both sides, so they subtracted that 3x. So your next step is subtraction property of equality. Next, I went from here to here. What did they do? Somehow this 2x is now all by itself. How did I get rid of that plus 10? I brought it to the other side. The opposite of plus 10 is minus 10. So again, they did the subtraction property of equality. And then last but not least, I went from this, 2x equals negative 18, to this. And that, of course, to get x by itself would be your multiplication property of equality. All right, let's go ahead and review some literal equations, which I'm going to get into some. Well, let's do B. Remember, literal equations are when you have more than one variable. Sometimes you'll have numbers, sometimes you'll just have variables. You're solving them the same way you solve your multi-step equations. So I want to solve for u here. Here is u. I cannot touch u until I get rid of plus at. What is the opposite of positive at? To bring the whole thing to the other side, I do the opposite. The opposite would be minus at. So let's see what I'm left with. V minus at. They're not like terms. You can't do it, so just rewrite it. Anything minus itself is 0, so I'm just left with my u. Now I've fully gotten u by itself. Remember, the difference between these literal equations that have many variables is you're not going to get one answer at the end. Well, you're getting one answer at the end. You're not going to get one number answer. You're getting your variables in it. All right, let's look at some trickier ones. Let's look at, this one is a science formula, and it's distance equals rate times time. So I want to solve for r. I want to get this r by itself. When they're next to each other, that is multiplication. The opposite of multiplication is division. So if I want to get rid of that t, I got to divide by t. Anything divided by itself is 1. 1 times r is r. I can't divide those. They're not like terms, so just leave it. And that's it. I got my r by itself. All right, let's look at, we did F in class yesterday. I did it on the video with you if you weren't in class. So we'll look at E instead. I want to get G, solve for G with this formula. So C and G are together. I can't touch them until I get rid of plus B. What's the opposite of plus B? Minus B. So anything minus itself is 0, so I'm just left with my C times G. 8 minus B I can't do, so rewrite it the way you see it. If I want to finish getting G by itself, when they're next to each other, that's multiplication. The opposite is division. Anything divided by itself is 1. 1 times G is G. I can't do anything here. There's no way to simplify, so leave it. So the nice thing about these is, usually it's just a couple steps and that's it. So don't stress about these. Don't make them harder than they are. You guys are doing great at solving equations. Please just throw in a couple more variables. Don't let it scare you. All right, that's really it. So go ahead and keep studying for your test. If you have any questions, email me or send me a remind message, but I'm sure you'll do great tomorrow. Remember, you can use all your notes. So have everything nice and neat and organized in your binder, or your binder.